Well, it's a great pleasure today to have in the studio Michael Jones. How are you, Michael?
Very good, thank you, Win. Thank you.
Just absolute likeness of the man we see on that sculpture at Eden Park when we ventured down there.
Jeez. Yeah, it was 25 kgs lighter, I'm sure. But no, thank you.
It must be a great thrill to have. To see that whenever you pass that famous ground, to think, wow.
Yeah, I must admit, it's very humbling, and I must admit, I do sort of try and avoid it too. It's hard to believe that that you have a sculpture of yourself there, but I think the way my take on it is that it's representative of that 1987 team more than anything. I was just the guy in the right place at the right time. He got the pass off Foxy and was able to just dive. I didn't have to do much; just had to dive a few meters. So, but it's really, and I hope commemorate and remember '87, the World Cup.
Well, you dived over at a tournament 4 years later as well in the UK.
'91.
You got the first try in that tournament.
Yeah, again, I was just in the right place at the right time, and that was actually a bit more of a planned move. I mean, JK caught it because JK always wanted the ball, and
yes.
And I think Posty sort of was part of that, and Graham Bashop, and I was just on the inside. JK did all the hard work.
Is it strange for you that when you look back, you see? I noticed that you've played the same number of All Black tests as Colin Meads. Now he played exactly the same number.
Is that right?
Yeah, he had probably a 15-year career. Yours was a bit shorter than that.
Yeah, maybe 11, 12 seasons. Yeah, I mean that's a fantastic honour to have the same number of tests as the great Sir Colin Meads. I mean he's really the iconic individual who represents everything that's great about the All Blacks and the heritage and the culture. So that's special. Thanks for that one.
But your first test was actually for Samoa.
Yes,
which a lot of people sort of forget about. Now, to me, that's a fascinating piece of information, but it seems strange now where players like Issa Nathewa can play 5 minutes for Samoa and can't play for the All Blacks ever again. You, the following year, played for the All Blacks. So what do you remember of that?
It was the very early days of Samoan rugby in particular. I'm a proud Kiwi Samoan in the sense that I'm born and bred here in Auckland, in West Auckland, but obviously with the Samoan heritage, they soon tracked me down, and I just made the Auckland team back in '85, I think, and so Hardy had picked me as a young 20-year-old from Waitemata, and things were going great with Auckland, and then out of the blue, I just got a call from George Meredith, who was the coach of Samoa at the time, and said, "Hey, we've got a one-off test with Wales. It's the first. We've never played anyone else except the Tongans, the Māoris, and the Fijians. So, can you make yourself available? No strings attached." And we were at. I think they were trying to get Fats and a couple of other boys from here at the time. So, obviously, as a young 20-year-old, and the opportunity to play a test match against Wales for Samoa. I'd been going up and down playing for Motao Village and Sevens and that previously, so I'd had a very strong connection to the country, and so it was a bit of a no-brainer, but knowing always that the rules back then were very flexible, and because it was sort of a one-off, the intention was always to come back to New Zealand and hopefully fulfil that dream, which had always been a powerful dream growing up.
Yeah, and which came true in '87 at that World Cup in such a spectacular fashion, I guess, for not only the All Blacks but for you. That must have been a huge thrill.
Oh, it was a dream come true. I mean, it was something I'd always aspired to as a young kid growing up here in Auckland, and my boyhood hero was B.G. Williams. He epitomised everything that was good about being a Polynesian rugby player. We didn't have many to look up to back in the day, and he was a lawyer too. And my mum said, Michael, you can be like B.G. Williams. So he was a great role model, and I just loved everything about BG. So I think that's what sparked my aspiration and my dream to be an All Black one day. So for that to come true, as a 20-year-old, but there was the circumstances around it. It was the first World Cup in New Zealand. It was the first World Cup. It was in New Zealand. The first game was at Eden Park, where it was sort of always special for me. Yeah, I'd played for the Roller Mills there as a 12-year-old, and for my Waitemata club and for the Colts. So it was my home ground. So yeah, and to be part of a team that was just unbelievable. The great players at the very peak of their game at the time. Whether it was David Kirk, Fitzy, Warwick Taylor, Craig Green, the Wetham boys, Buck, the list goes on. I mean, I was just so privileged.
It was a bad squad, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that forward pack and AJ and Buck, it was an armchair ride for me. They just made life so easy for me, and I was able just to express myself as a young kid on the block, and I suppose bring what I could bring to that
team. I guess
team.
people were fascinated at not only how you played, but also the fact that you were a man who stuck with his strong beliefs that you wouldn't play any rugby on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, I guess you weren't actually probably the first.
No.
There'd been a few others. I think Sid Goings.
Steve Porketti, of course. Yep.
Yeah. Were there any times when that became really difficult for you? And can you tell us, I guess in brief, why you do that? Is it something to do with your father as well, that you honoured your father?
Yeah.
I've read all sorts of stories.
I think it was more, I mean, I was brought up in a very strong Christian home. My mum was a young widow. My dad passed away very young. I was only 4 years old. So it was very, in retrospect, very sheltered, very safe environment in the sense that I was, church was a big part of our lives, spending all day Sunday just in the church and with family. So that was the norm for me, and I didn't really know anything else. And I suppose at the age where I could make up my own mind, obviously my mother gave me that opportunity. She said, "Look, son, it's your call. You're old enough." But my faith has always been a huge part of my life and very central to it. In fact, so although I still remember, even Hardy saying, "Look, Michael, there's a chance for you to live your dream, but where do you stand on that Sunday thing?" I mean, so I had to make it very clear that if it meant that I wasn't going to be selected, I was prepared to live with that. But thankfully, I had very understanding coaches, and even the public, my teammates have always been so supportive. So I'm just thankful that it worked out. That
What about the time frame thing? Sometimes
you
were overseas, and Saturday became Sunday, and I bet a few tried that.
Yeah, it might have crossed my mind, and then you're right. When there were times when I have to to be brutally honest, it was like I remember one time we were in Australia in the 92 tour, and we had a situation. It was a Sunday test against the Wallabies, and all our guys went down. So I think Bruiser got injured, Kevin Schuler got injured, maybe Jamie was injured, and I'm here sitting in the stands, 100% fit to go. So it was that, the natural part of me was like, it was killing me, but because you didn't want to let you just wanted to be part of this team and part of the privilege and honour. I know that so many kids were given arm and leg to play. Any position, anytime, but it's always just been a conviction.
You had to be consistent.
And I had to be consistent and true to myself, because at the end of the day, the real inner piece was, just stay true to it, honour your parents, and I think that's what you're referring to, honour your faith.
Yeah.